Hey guys, Andrew here. I'm going to just talk about doing some tutoring and mentoring for students in the University of Southern Queensland. I'm going to show you a model that I've been asked a question on and to do a tutorial on, and hopefully it helps everyone out. Okay, let's have a quick look here. Alright, so here's the model, and I've just opened it up now. Let's quickly go back to there, and I'm just going to have a look at it at arm's length to start, and I can actually notice that the trusses are coming through the roof there, and something I don't like about the design, and that is more the fact that, you know, we've got water that's going to pool here, and these would be generally called box gutters, and I understand why they're used. However, in this circumstance, I don't think that it's really doing the home any justice. So I'm going to have a look at how this has been done. So I'm going to quickly, there's no structure scene that I can see there, no. So I'm going to quickly create the structure scene. Submit. I don't want to override the scene, so I'm going to say no. I'm just going to add a couple more scenes, which is structure. And this young lady's done an excellent job at actually getting all these trusses right. So 10 out of 10. However, I think just the fundamentals here of how this roof works is not really how we would do it in the industry. But if that was how you want to do it and you did want to have box gutters, really the issue is that this horizontal piece on top of the roof is called a ridge, and that signifies when you have a flat section which way the roof should actually run. So these trusses should have run from here to here and then back a half span, and that would have actually solved that problem. Let's have a look at the structural side of things. Okay, so basically when these trusses here were drawn, they've been done as a valley, which is you know, well thought out, however not quite right. So really these trusses here should have actually started from here and run back. And look, even though I'm not sure if this is design intent, I'm going to do what I would do in this particular instance. Is I'm going to actually get rid of anything that would be a problem and square up the front of the house. I would suggest probably different ways of giving the house a little bit of depth. The first issue is, and the reason why the roof has this indent is because when the roof's been created, go back to my structure scene, the face has been created from walls. However, you can create a face with the rectangle tool, and I'll give you an example. A rectangle, and I'll basically go from here to here, and it will actually create a rectangle. That gave me two different faces. Now if I wanted to get rid of the difference between the face here, I can just push delete, and then I have one solid face. And if I create the roof on top of this here, create roof, and go submit, we'll notice when we go to all here that the roof is now different. So I'll go and get rid of the original roof, so hide that for a second. Still not what I'm after. I've got a valley and a valley there. So let's have a look at see what happened. I'm going to delete that roof. Right, and I see whether I separated the faces. I did. So I'm actually going to go Control Z there, and I'm going to undo. Sorry, let's go back to where I was. Okay. Something about this face isn't right. There it is there, you see. Two different faces, and that created an issue. So I'm actually going to delete this line here. And what I'm going to do is actually bring the edge of this face, if I can get it, out. Okay, that's not a face anymore. Alright, I'm going to go back to scratch, right click, walls, generate roof from walls. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get the edge, right? You'll know before we spoke about edges and faces. I'm trying to get the edge, and I knew that the edge would line up with the outside of the wall, and therefore if I actually use my move tool, close that for a second, my move tool, which is M as a keyboard shortcut, and I move it out to here, I won't have individual faces anymore. Well, I shouldn't, unless there's a straight line there, and this is what's happened here. Delete. There's a straight line there, there's a straight line there. So you've got to look out for these type of things, because it would be frustrating when you're trying to do that. And I'll quickly just create this roof and I'll delete it. Roof, create roof, and go submit. Okay, and that actually did what I wanted it to do. However, in this particular instance, we actually have a roof that sits up on the front. So I'm actually going to delete this roof. And you'll also notice that I've actually missed the veranda out the back there. So we'll delete that and we'll go back and we'll see if we can get the edge out here as well. And I might have to get rid of my trusses to do that. So I'm going to hide them. So use the keyboard shortcut of H. And I'm actually going to move this face out until it gets to the outside of the post. That's the pitching point. Okay, not this part here. That shouldn't be there. Get rid of that. You know, I can just pull it if I want to. I'm not sure how this has been set up or what that is. It might be a ceiling. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to select it now and make sure everything's correct. I don't have any dodgy little edges. And I'm also going to use my tape measure tool. Let's get rid of that again. Tape measure. And I'm going, because the outside of our post is our pitching point. Right. So I'm just using my tape measure tool to create some guidelines, which I'm going to delete later. Right. Now what that enables me to do is actually create a rectangle, which is R as a keyboard shortcut. Here. And I'm going to just go through and I'm going to click inside of the roof, which kind of is a little bit strange, but now I have two faces. I actually want to delete this face. And I'm going to pull the face up because I noticed in the original file the roof was risen. Well, I think it would look better if it does. It'll give more detail. And I'm going to select my other face here and I'm going to go, make sure I've got that all. It is there. Right click, roof, create roof. Now the reason this is pushed through is so the valley comes through with it. I'm going to go submit and we'll have a look. Right, okay. Now I actually have my raised front entry roof, which gives a little bit more depth, and you might want to change this to a gable or something like that. Roof, add gable. Yeah, and you can give the gable an overhang if you want to. Say 600. Go submit. Right, and now I have a little gable on the front there as well. Now, one last thing that we probably quickly just touch on is I'm going to hide my roof, keyboard shortcut H. These actually are resembling beams, so really what I need to do is actually use my beam tool, go in here and choose a beam size, so whatever the distance is between here and here. I'm just going to quickly create this, and I'm going to use my left arrow to keep it on, and I'm going to use my down arrow to get it to sit below the face. Beam, beam, and beam. I can change the size of these beams later. We're not engineering the project, we're just actually drawing it in. So I could actually change, so select those beams, go back and change the size of the beams. Right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go edit, unhide. Last. Right, let's put my roof back on. I now have some beams in there, and when I go to create my trusses, I'm going to look at it in my structural view. I'll go back and look at all again and make sure I know which is my largest pitch. So this is my next largest pitch, and you can see the original roof there. I'm going to delete that. Oh, wrong one. Control Z, undo, and get rid of this one. Delete. Change the materials later. That's my second largest pitch. So I'm going to go back to my structural view here. And that means that what I need to do is I can get rid of those guides. Now I can delete them one by one. Delete, delete, and I'll leave that one there. And I'm going to run another tape measure line here. So that way I know the span of my roof, okay? I'm going to then go to my roofing tool, go to my trusses, choose the right pitch and overhang and go submit. And I'm going to click on my span first until I get to the line, and then I'm actually going to want this roof to pitch in here. So if I actually go down here and go include valley trusses, it will create a thing called a girder truss which will hold up this roof, which actually means we're going to have a reasonably heavy load here. So you might want to put in some steel or upgrade some posts or different things there to hold that extra weight. At the moment it's a cluster of studs, so it's not too bad, but you'll see what happens here in a second. Depending on the speed of your computer or depending on how quickly it is, it's quite a large roof. Oh, and we have an upstand there, you see. I didn't really want that upstand. right? That's raised the trusses up, and let's have a look at where I did that. From overhang, spacing, upstand, I accidentally put my upstand as 0. Right, I should have made it, so you know what, I'm just going to delete it, or I could have just edited it, but I'm just going to quickly get that out of here and go back to my trusses. Yep. And this one should have been 0, and this one here should have been 600. Don't need an upstand on these trusses. Right, submit, go back, do it again. Nothing wrong with making mistakes. I think just not dwelling on the mistakes is the key to make sure I've still got my values turned on. I do. I make mistakes all the time, guys. Now, let's quickly just get this in here. It'll take 10, 20 seconds or something like that. Just if you're not sure, just pause the video, go back and try it yourself, and then watch it again, because I am doing this reasonably quickly. Most of this information is inside of the tutorials, but there is a lot of tutorials inside of there, and I understand that time is a factor. So I understand, guys, if you do have troubles with this, but I would say all in all, this is a great project so far. And while we're waiting on this, there we go. Okay, so now, as I said, we've got a load bearing point there. It's pitched up the roof, ready to go, and the next set of trusses that we would need to draw would be here. I'm going to start from here, and I'm actually going to go through to here, and I'm going to click here. Right, what that's done is even the front two lines, the front two things that I created here and here are basically what's made it square, and the next one is just, I'm telling it how far I want it to go. And now I have my roof pitching in there. I have one more to do, and the reason why I put these beams in is so I could actually see where I'm going to pitch my roof from. And I'm going to go through until I get to... Now I don't actually need a girder here. We can edit trusses later if we want to. I probably should have drawn a tape measure line across here first. So I really want to go to, say, roughly 99 inside. I eyeballed it, but I should have got this correct. The underside of that, you'll notice. Right, and now I actually have my trusses drawn the way that I actually want them to be. If I go back and look at all, my roof is the way that I want it to be as well. However, I should have drawn this as a gable. And you'll also notice that we have these tails coming through the roof, which is basically, go to the structure, these are the overhangs of the truss. Now we don't want them in there, so if we actually click on the on-click function here and go through and get rid of those, and there will also be some where any other girder was. You can see them here. Okay, get rid of that one there. The girder is the defining factor, nothing would run through it, usually. Get rid of those, click them there, and you can see it won't be long before I've tidied that model up and have it ready for construction. One last tip, guys, if we went to all again here and we wanted to add some battens in, so usually with a tile roof your battens would be the distance between here and here, which you can see down the bottom is 231. However, if it was a tin roof, you might make your spacing of your battens 1200. I'm going to quickly make this for a tin roof. I'm just triple clicking until I get there, and I'm going to go right click, roof framing, create roof framing. Being it's a truss roof, I actually don't want rafters, so I'm going to exclude my rafters, and I'm going to put in my batten spacing and choose the type of style of batten that I want, and go submit. Okay, and we're going to have a look at that in the structure mode again. Right, and now I went through and put in all of my battens to hold my tin as well. Alright guys, I hope it helps out. Don't forget to change that back to a gable. If you've got any questions, ask them in the video below. Cheers.